Hello and welcome to today's intermediate Pilates session with me, Sue from Fit Panda. All we're going to be needing for today's session is your mat or any kind of support that you know you'd like to have once we're sitting or lying down on the mat, such as your towels or your yoga blocks. And then we're going to start in our standing position, bringing the feet to hip width apart, keeping in mind that hip width apart is just enough space roughly for one of your own fists to fit in between your feet. And then the feet will be running parallel to one another from there. So we're going to start by just curling the head forward to look at your own toes. And then while you're looking at your own toes, we're going to roll the ankle joints. So you're going to think about rolling your ankles in towards each other as much as possible, as though you're trying to make yourself go into like a flat foot position. So we're pronating into the feet. And then we're going to roll the ankles away from each other as if you're trying to push the outer edges of your feet into the mat and trying to lift the arches of your feet off the mat, as though you had those little insteps on the inside of your feet that were kind of pushing the arches of your feet up. And then we go again. So I want you to roll your ankles as much in both directions as you can, that your toes can stay on the mat. So keep your toes on the mat. Roll the ankle joints towards each other, and you'll see that your knees will kind of move a little bit with your ankles there. And then we'll roll the ankles back out again. And let's do one more, rolling the ankle joints in towards each other, trying to flatten the arch of the foot, and then rolling them out, trying to lift the arch of the foot, and that's going to bring your knees into a nice parallel position as well. And let's keep it there. So we're going to keep it with that feeling of trying to create a little bit of lift in the arch of the foot. And then we'll soften the knees, take another breath, and start our roll down, rolling forward and down towards the mat. And just keeping an eye on those ankles, on the arches of the feet as you roll forward and down. Then we'll take a breath at the bottom. Draw navel to spine and start to slowly roll your way back up again, keeping the knees softly bent, keeping the position of the ankle joint until you've lengthened your way all the way up to standing tall. And we're going to repeat that process with the ankles again. So we're going to let the head come forward to look at your own feet. And then you're going to roll your ankle joints towards each other, trying to flatten the arches of the feet. Remember to keep the toes down and then roll them apart. And take note what happens to your knees while you do this. And it's also nice to just kind of make a little mental note for yourself, whether you think that you normally let your ankles roll towards each other or whether you're keeping the arch of your foot lifted. And then we'll hold it in the position where you're keeping the arch lifted, the outer blades pressing more into the mat. Soften the knee joints, take another breath, and exhale to roll back down through your spine, rolling forward and down towards your mat, going as low as you can go with that soft bend in the knees. And then we're going to stay here. So we're going to stay forward. Keep your awareness on your ankle joints as we go into a little hamstring stretch. So you can let your knees bend a little bit more just to start with as you breathe in. And then exhale, try to straighten out the back of your legs as much as you can. And we'll do two more, like little bouncy hamstring stretches. We let the knees bend, and then we straighten out into the back of the legs. And one more time, we bend, and then straighten into the back of the legs as much as you can. Feel that stretch running along the back of the legs. Then soften the knees without letting go of that connection that you have to your ankle joints. Take a breath in, and exhale, we'll slowly roll our way back up. So you're going to restack your spine, holding the position of the ankles as you roll up through your spine. Once we're standing nice and tall and you've straightened out the legs again, we'll sweep the arms up overhead, interlace your fingers to flip the palms to face up, and then lean over to one side to give yourself a little side stretch. So you're pulling on the top arm to deepen the stretch. We'll move through the center and then over to the other side, stretching out the other side of your body. And then back to the center. Arms can come down beside you, and let's just roll the shoulders forward and up, getting as much movement in the shoulders as you can for another 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then we're going to stay standing. I would suggest that you also stand facing your mat like I'm doing here, because eventually we are going to roll down. And Keep the feet in the position that we had though, so in our hip width position, that awareness of the ankle joints kind of staying with a slight lift in the arches, and then hold a neutral spine and float your arms out in front of you with the palms facing down. Keeping the feet in the same position on the mat and your back nice and upright, we're just going to do a knee bend. So your knees are going to bend as low as you can go that your back stays upright. So I'm not leaning forward, it's not a squat. And then we'll press back up. So you want to bend the knees and pull through the shins, basically to flex your ankles as much as you can, and then press back up. And let's do 4 more, as though you had a wall behind you. So you're just kind of gliding down your imaginary wall and then back up your imaginary wall. And the knees should be bending straight forward, so your knees are staying parallel to one another while you do this. And let's go for 2 more. And up, and 1 more. Bend, pull through the shins, and then straighten the legs back up again. We're going to take the arms out into a T position now with the palms facing forward. Keep drawing the abdominals in to support your spine. And then we're going to send the weight into the toes so that your heels can float just up off the floor, like maybe a centimeter off of the floor. And then we're going to keep the heels floating off the floor here as though you had like a little pin just underneath your heel so you can't put it back down onto the mat. And then keeping the same position of the body, we go back to our knee bends. And you will feel that it's obviously now easier to bend the knees more because you've got your heels lifted, but the challenge is in the balance. So we bend, keep the back straight, and press back up. Same thing, don't let the knees roll in towards each other or out to the sides of the room. They're going straight forward and up, focusing on that alignment of the knees and the ankles. For another 4. And breathing. And 3 more. Inhale, bend. And straighten. And your last 2. And 1 more time. Knee bend, those heels stay floating off the floor. Straighten. Then we'll lower the heels back down to the floor, lower the arms down beside the body, bringing the head forward to look at your toes. So this is the one that we're going to need a bit of runway in front of you. So we're going to roll down, softening the knees. You can roll forward and down towards your feet. And then we're going to bend the knees as much as you need to get your hands to land onto the mat so that we can walk them forward and lower the knees gently down to the floor to come into 4-point kneeling. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, lengthening out into your neutral spine and spreading the weight out equally through your hands and your legs. Take a breath in and then exhale. We're going to tuck the tailbone in and round into your cat stretch. So rounding the spine, eyes will drop to look towards the thighs. And then think about lifting the tailbone back into a neutral position, and the rest of your spine will kind of follow and ripple back out into neutral. Inhale there and exhale to round into your cat, actively pulling up through your abdominals as you round your spine. And then keep the support of your abdominals when you lengthen back out, drawing the shoulders away from the ears. We go 1 more time. Tuck the tailbone in, let that spine round into your cat stretch. Push through the arms like you're trying to push the floor away from you. And then lengthen back out, rippling back out into your neutral spine. So we'll stay here in our neutral spine. Keep the support from your abdominals and send all the weight into your right arm. So push strongly through the right arm so that your left hand becomes free for you to lift it and place the fingertips against your forehead. My palm is facing straight down to the floor with the elbow just out to the side of the room like you had a big ear on the left-hand side of your body. And then keep pushing through the right arm to start to twist yourself to look towards the left-hand side of the room. So your elbow will just naturally lift towards the ceiling as you twist. Then keeping that right arm straight, I'm going to come back to neutral and then go into internal rotation by rolling your chest towards your bicep, and this time your elbow will naturally drop towards the mat. It doesn't necessarily have to touch the mat though, so you don't have to bend your arm. And then come back to neutral. Let's do 1 more each way. So we're going to rotate and open towards the left on the inhale, push through the right arm, then internally rotate, bringing your chest in towards your own bicep to look at the right-hand side of the room. Then come back to neutral, looking at your mat, and switch the arms. So we'll place the left hand under the left shoulder, push into that left arm, right hand comes up, fingertips to forehead. Then keep pushing through that left arm to rotate and open yourself to look towards the right-hand side of the room, and that right elbow and shoulder blade are going to lift, and then we come back to face the mat and roll internally to come and look towards your own bicep, or bring your chest towards your bicep. And let's do one more. Inhale as you open to look at the right-hand side of the room. Exhale as you roll in towards your own arm and the elbow drops towards the mat. Then come back to neutral to look at your mat. Place your hand back down onto your mat and then slide your legs back behind you to come and lie down on your tummy. So we're going to separate our legs a little wider than the hips, turning the knees out slightly. So kind of setting up like you're going to go into a swan. We'll have the arms in a narrow kind of goalpost position with the hands slightly higher than your shoulders. You want to be able to get the whole of your forearm, including your elbow, to touch the mat though. So if you need to take your arms a little wider for the forearm to touch the mat, you can do that. We're going to roll the shoulder blades back and down, so you're already kind of lifting the shoulders slightly away from the mat, and your nose is floating just off the floor as you look at your mat. Lift your tummy muscles, draw navel to spine, and then we're going to go for a little mini swan from here. So keeping the arms on the floor as you inhale, the head and the chest will start to rise. You're going to grip with your forearms into your mat and imagine that you were trying to pull yourself forward and through your arms, like you're trying to reach your chest towards the wall in front of you, and then exhale to come back down. So we'll inhale, just working through the upper back, and then that pull through the forearms is going to help you activate your upper back muscles to reach the chest forward and through, and then exhale back down. And let's do two more. Inhale to lift through the upper back, let your neck move with you. It's also going to lift the weight of your head up and down. And we go one more time. Rounding through the upper spine like a little wave as you come up. And then exhale, coming back down to look at your mat. Now let the arms start to feel light against the mat. You won't come up as high now because we're not going to have the arms for support. But you're going to do the same thing. The head and the chest are going to lift and the arms are going to float up with you this time. So as you inhale, float up with your arms. So your arms will come off the mat by like a centimeter, and then exhale to come back down again. And let's do three more. Inhale, we float up, so become light and the arms float with you. And then exhale back down, but not the legs. The legs stay down the whole time. I want you to just focus on the upper back, warming it up. Inhale as we lift and down. And because you're not coming up as high, of course you won't be lifting your eye line as high either. Maybe just starting to look over the top edge of your mat, depending on your back flexibility. And then exhale to come back down. Then hands under the shoulders, we're going to push up to go back into your rest position, pressing the hips towards the feet, stretching the arms out in front of you for 2 deep breaths. Then you can come back onto your hands and knees, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. You don't need wrist support. Video Sue thought she was going to do something else, but she didn't do it. So don't worry about the towel under the wrists. We're just going to push straight up into your downward facing dog. So tucking the toes in, push through the legs and the arms, sitting bones up to the sky, wrapping the shoulder blades down around the rib cage, and just hold it for 2 breaths as you reach your sitting bones up towards the ceiling. And then from there, we'll soften the knees so that you can walk your hands backwards towards your feet. So push through the arms, bend the knees as much as you need to so that you can walk until you're standing firmly on your feet and you don't need your arms anymore. Take a breath there and let's roll our way back up again, 1 vertebra at a time. Tucking the tailbone in, gently pushing the hips forward as you unravel until we're standing. Then from there, Video Sue's getting hot. If you are too, you can also strip a layer off. And then we're going to come towards the front edge of our mat. So come down as gracefully as possible. We're going to place 1 foot behind the other with the toes tucked in, like you're going to go into a little curtsy. Feel free to use your hands if you need to. You don't want to hurt yourself when you come down, but if you can, do it hands free. You bend the knees to lower yourself down gracefully into a little cross-legged position onto your mat. Or make your way down to your mat any way that feels safe for you. And then we're going to set up for our roll-up. So 2 straight legs out in front of the body. If you know you like a little bit of support behind your lower back for the roll-ups, grab your towel and you can place it the same way I've done in the video if you need to, so about 5 centimeters away from your sitting bones. Arms out in front, palms facing each other. Let's sit as tall as you can through your spine, so really become light on the sitting bones, reaching the top of the head up towards the ceiling, taking a breath there. And then we're going to start to round the spine. So I'm keeping my shoulders and my hips in the same place, but I'm rounding everything kind of in between as though there's an invisible ball pushing into my stomach. And then keep that rounded shape. Take another breath. And on your exhale, we'll roll down. So a nice long exhale breath all the way down. Keep your breath flowing. Once your shoulders and head are on the mat, take the arms back to finish the movement for the thumbs to tap onto the floor. Arms will lift. And we inhale back into your chest lift or into your break point. Exhale to peel yourself up until your shoulders are again just over your hips. I'm still very active in the shape here. This isn't just a slouched position. You're pulling in through your abdominals. We're going to do 2 more. Breathing in and rolling down. If you need to take extra breaths, go for it. Deep abdominals all the way down through the spine until the arms can reach back. So you're in a neutral shape as the arms go back, but as your arms lift and you come up into that chest lift, you're starting to round your spine, and then you're going to exhale to peel your way up from there. So the next one coming up is your last one. Just come down into a chest lift position. So we're going to take a breath. We're going to roll down till your shoulder blades just start to touch the mat, and then pause there so you're looking at your own legs as you bend your knees to slide your feet in onto the mat. Set them up hip width apart like we had them earlier when we were standing. Flip the palms to face down, and then take the rest of your spine down onto the mat and stretch your arms back behind you. So your legs should now be in your normal pelvic curl set up position. If you do have a towel, just slide the towel out of the way, so that you're in a neutral shape on your mat. Interlace the fingers, place them in behind the back of your head to set up for some chest lifts. So the hands are supporting the weight of the head, elbows are slightly lifted off the floor so that you can see them out the corner of your eye. Take a deep breath in to expand through your rib cage there, and exhale, we're going to curl the head and the shoulders up and over the rib cage, trying to flatten the tummy muscles without pulling through the arms. Lift over the rib cage, take a breath there. And exhale, we'll lengthen back down. As you come down, unraveling back into neutral, breathe in at the bottom. Use your exhale breath to curl you up and over your rib cage. Try and flatten the tummy muscles. Your eyes will be looking towards your knees as you take a breath. And then we lengthen back down. Last one coming up, take a breath. Exhale, we're going to curl up. You come up to your highest point. Try to keep your legs relaxed though, and your hands just supporting the weight of your head. And then from there, we're going to do teeny tiny pulses, trying to go above your maximum height. Little pulses going up to the knees for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then you can lengthen your way back down into your mat all the way, straight line with the spine. And we're going to add some rotations onto the next one. Inhale, prepare, open up through the ribs. And then as you curl back up into the chest lift, you'll feel as though you're sliding the bottom ribs towards your belly button, keeping the height of your chest lift. Take a breath and then rotate over to the left. So just tipping over to the edge of that left shoulder blade, then through the center on the inhale breath and over to the right. Swiveling your rib cage through the center. Let's do 2 more each way. Rotate on the exhale. Keep an eye on the legs and the hips, that they aren't moving with you. It's just the upper half of your body moving. 1 more time each way. Rotate one way and rotate the other way. Come back to the center for a last breath, and then exhale to lengthen your way back down into your mat all the way down. Once you're down with your head down, send your awareness into your pelvis. Try to keep it still, so stabilize first before you bring your left leg up into a tabletop position. So we're going to float that left leg up, 90-degree bend in the knee. Leave the leg there, take another breath, expand the ribs, and curl your head and your shoulders back up again. So we're coming back up into a chest lift just with your one leg lifted. Then we're going to try to lift that right shoulder blade up over the left one so that you rotate your chest to look just past your left thigh. So I've rotated to the left. Keep your chest there, don't rest on the arm. Use your abdominals to stay lifted as we do some toe taps with that left leg. So you're going to hinge, Tap your toe on the mat, and then when you lift it, you can bring that knee just in past your hip, so slightly closer to you than we would normally have it for tabletop. Tap, lift, and 2 more. Tap, lift, and breathe. Tap, and lift. Keep the leg lifted. Swivel the chest back to the center before you gently place your foot back onto the mat. Take a breath, and then lengthen all the way back down again. Once the head is down, stabilize again through your pelvis and float your right leg up into tabletop. There shouldn't have to be any movement in your hips when the leg lifts because you're that stable from your abdominals. Take a breath and then curl the head and the shoulders back up and over the rib cage. This time we rotate over to the right to look just past your right thigh. You've lifted your left shoulder blade even higher than the right one, and then you go into your taps. Tap and then bring the knee in a little closer than 90, and we tap. Exhale, lift. 2 more without the chest moving at all. Literally the only thing that's happening is a little hip hinge. Then bring the leg back up, bring your chest back to the center, place your foot back down onto the mat, and this time we're going to reach the arms forward, palms facing down like hundreds prep, before you lengthen back down all the way onto your mat and take the arms back behind you for the back of the hands to touch the floor or as close to the floor as you can get them to go. And then we'll bring the arms back up and place them down onto the mat beside you. Palms facing down, set yourself up for your pelvic curl. So feet and knees hip width apart, neutral through the spine and a feeling of length through the back of the neck. We're going to take a breath in here. And on the exhale, you'll start to tuck your tailbone, so tilting the tailbone in underneath you to imprint your lower spine to the mat, and then slowly peel up through your spine. So the pelvis lifts first, you peel through your lower back, your mid back, little bit of upper back, so some of the rib cage starting to lift away from the mat. Breathe in at the top here. And then exhale, we reverse that pattern, so rib cage coming down first, lengthening through your spine until your pelvis touches the mat, and then you come back to neutral. So we're going to mix it up. We're going to change that pattern a little bit. You're going to go up the same way, so we'll breathe in, exhale, tuck the pelvis, lift the tailbone, roll your way up through your spine like we would normally do for a bridge. So you've got a tucked tailbone all the way up, so call that your posterior tilt to your pelvis. We want to now try and undo that. So while you're still in your bridge, very untraditional, I know, but I want you to think about trying to arch your back slightly by undoing the tuck of your tailbone. So you're almost going to drop your tailbone down towards the mat slightly, as if you're trying to create a curve or an arched position to your spine. Now try to keep the arched position to your spine so that when you come down, you're coming down now tailbone first. So I want you to keep the whole of your back lifted off the mat as you have it, but try to drop the tailbone down towards the floor first, so you're in this kind of extreme arched position to your spine, and then only once the tailbone touches the mat are you then going to tuck your tailbone in and reverse that pattern to imprint your spine into the mat. So you went from arched to imprinted. And my shirt's a little bit baggy, so you can't really see what's happening there, but I'm hoping that you understand. Okay, so we're going to go up the normal way. So we breathe in. Exhale, tuck, lift the tailbone first, and then peel your way up through your spine. Once you're at the top, think about undoing the tuck of the tailbone and trying to point your sitting bones down towards the mat as much as you can. Depends a little bit on the shape of your back, how arched you're going to get it. But now try to keep the whole of your spine off the mat and just drop the tailbone down first. So you're doing this kind of reverse wave pattern where the tailbone then touches the mat. Once the tailbone touches the mat, then you tuck the tailbone in to imprint the spine into the floor, and we do one more. Tuck the tailbone, lift the pelvis, roll up through your spine. Keeping that, we undo the tuck of the tailbone, so you kind of tilt your pelvis down towards the floor. I've kind of lifted my shirt slightly there so that you can see here. As I go down, it's going to be tailbone first, trying to keep the arch of the spine. Once the tailbone is down, then you can just kind of settle back into your neutral spine. So drop the rib cage back down towards the mat. Find your neutral though, just a little bit of lift underneath the lower back. so that we can stay here as we float the arms up to the ceiling again and then back onto the floor behind you or as far as your shoulders allow. Then we float the arms back up to the ceiling on your inhale breath. And exhale, follow your arms and curl your head and your shoulders up into a little hundreds prep position with the palms facing down. Stabilize yourself here in that lift before your right leg becomes light. We float it into tabletop. Stay nice and stable as you bring the other leg up to join. Squeeze the legs together. Place your hands onto the back of your thighs to help you get a nice high chest lift position so your back feels supported against the mat. And then release the arms with the palms facing down into your normal hundreds prep. The legs will stay there as you go back down onto the mat, shoulders, head down, and then you stretch through the shoulders to take your arms as far back as they'll go. Then we curl the arms back up, curl the arms, lift the arms back up, inhale. Then the head and the shoulders come up with the arms into a chest lift hundreds prep. Stay there as you straighten out your knees, keeping the legs straight, keeping the lower back touching the mat. See how low the legs can go. So hinge from your hips to go as low as you feel secure. Then take a little mental snap picture of this moment where your legs are reaching away from you so you know where you want your legs to be every time. Then we'll bend the knees, reverse the movement through the spine and stretch the arms back. So now when you come up, those legs are going to shoot out into your little picture moment straight away. So arms lift, curl into the chest lift, shoot the legs out into your picture, so wherever you've chosen to take those legs, and then reverse. We bend the knees, reverse through the spine, finish with the arms stretching back behind you. And let's go for 3 more. Arms up. Curl into the chest lift, reach the legs away. They're still squeezing together. Bend the knees, reverse the movement through the spine. Arms lift, 2 more. Curling up, all on an exhale breath. Inhale to slowly reverse back down. 1 more time, arms up, exhale breath, shoot the legs out and reverse, bend the knees and go back, arms onto the floor. Then we'll keep the legs exactly as they are, lifted in a tabletop, squeezing together as you float your arms up to the ceiling. Turn the palms to face each other and open your arms out into your T position. So palms facing up, arms on the floor, kind of in line with your shoulders. So just a straight line from one hand to the other. For your spine twist, we're going to press down slightly into the arms, keep the shoulder blades against the mat, and tilt the pelvis over to the right, peeling your left hip up off of the floor, spiraling through the spine. You'll feel the pressure of your right arm helping you. And then exhale to come through the center, roll through the middle of the pelvis and over to the left on your inhale. And center. We're going to do 2 more each way. Those knees are staying in line with your hips the whole time. Make sure you don't start to pull them towards your body or away from your body. Keep squeezing your legs together. Let's go 1 more time each way. Using the back of the arms to help you. Using the pressure of the arms into the floor. After your last one, bring it back to the center again. And then the arms are going to float up off the floor and face up towards the ceiling again so that we can now do the same thing but without the support of the arms. So you'll feel that you probably won't be able to go as far in your twist, otherwise you end up kind of tipping over to the side. So explore how far over to the right you can do your spine twist before it feels like you might fall, and then bring the legs back through the center. Inhale to go the other way. And center, keep the shoulder blades against the mat and go for 2 more each way. Spiraling the spine, arms staying perfectly still, just facing the ceiling. And 1 more each way. Breathing in as you tilt. Make sure that you're rolling through a neutral spine every time. Come back to the center. Pause in the center and separate your legs just to hip width apart. So a little bit of space now. And we're going to do leg changes with a little bit of pace. So your arms will stay exactly where they are. Hinge from the right hip, tap the toe gently on the mat. And then switch for the left leg. And we go right and left and right and left. Keep the support from your tummy. Keep your breath flowing. We go right and left and 2 more each leg. And 1 more each leg, and then you can place 1 foot at a time back down onto the mat. Keep the arms still facing the ceiling, but set your legs up so that they're ready for a pelvic curl. As we go straight into your next pelvic curl, you'll breathe in, prepare. On the exhale, tilt the pelvis, tuck the tailbone, and slowly peel up through your spine to come up into your bridge. Keep the support from your abdominals, grip with your feet firmly into the mat. Then keeping the arms straight, just turn the palms to face towards your knees and lower your arms down until your hands are resting on your thighs or your hips. Then your arms are going to stay exactly where they are as your little watermark for our hip dip. So your hips at this point should feel like they're the same height. Then your right hip stays against your right hand, but your left hip drops down slightly away from your left hand by like 5 centimeters towards the mat. Squeeze the left bum cheek to lift it back up onto your hand. And then the right hip will go down for a little dip towards the floor. Squeeze the right bum cheek to lift it back up. Do 2 more each way. Make sure that you're using your glutes here for support and that you're not just letting your back start to strain. Keep legs nice and strong, and 1 more each way. Little dip. So you're rotating your hips slightly, rotating and then lift. Once you've got both hips back up at the same height, they stay there. Your arms are going to float off your legs to go all the way back onto the floor behind you. If you struggle to get your hands to touch the floor, you can bend your elbows a little bit to get your hands comfortably onto the floor. Take a breath. Leaving the hands behind on the floor, we're going to roll down the normal way through your spine. So rib cage first, pelvis last, vertebra for vertebra into your mat till you've landed back to neutral. And we're going to do it 1 more time. Breathing in, prepare. Exhale as you tuck the tailbone in, lift the pelvis, and slowly peel up vertebra for vertebra into your bridge position. Grip through the feet into your mat, float your arms back up and down to rest onto your thighs so that you can feel where your hips are, and use that as your guide as you let 1 hip dip down towards the floor for a little twist of the lower back, and then exhale, squeeze the glute, lift it back up. Inhale, we go onto the other side, right hip down and squeeze and lift. 2 more each way. Try not to let your knees roll too far out though. This is mostly about the hip. Of course, the knee will move slightly because it's attached to your hip, but focus on the movement of the hip, not affecting your knee too much. 1 more time each way. After your last one, getting those hips level again, squeeze the glutes, let the arms become light, float them back up onto the floor behind you. Rest the hands there as you breathe in, and then exhale as you slowly come down. Really enjoy the stretch through the shoulders, through the spine as you come back into your mat. Once your pelvis has landed, hug both of your knees up towards your chest and just gently rock your legs from side to side as though you're rubbing your lower back into the mat. I'm just taking a little sip of water if you're hearing strange noises. Then I'm going to place the hands onto the back of my thighs so that when you curl your head up to look at your knees, you're holding onto the back of your legs. And then we're going to use the legs just for a little bit of momentum to roll all the way up to sitting. Once we've come up to sit, we're going to set up for your forward spine stretch. So if you know that you like to sit on something for your seated positions, go ahead and grab your seat, your cushion or towel, so that you can get a nice upright spine. Legs are slightly wider than your hips, kind of towards the outer edges of your mat. You can have a little bend in the knees as well if you need it to help you sit up straight. Otherwise, legs straight, spine straight, arms straight out in front of you, and a little flex to the feet so that your toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. Try to lengthen and become really light on the sitting bones as you inhale. And then exhale, we're going to dive forward. So you're going to curl your spine forward and through the legs as far as you can go. Use your tummy muscles to help draw you forward. If your hands are nowhere near your ankles, if you're still trapped quite high up, try bending the knees a little bit more to help you lean forward, or try sitting on something if you aren't already sitting on something. Then we'll take a breath there. On the exhale, draw the navel to the spine and slowly restack your spine vertebra for vertebra as if there was an invisible wall behind you that you're lengthening yourself against. Take another breath, and then we're going to go again. We're going to dive forward and through into your forward spine stretch, and then we'll stay here. So you'll be looking towards your mat, and we're going to turn the right hand, palm facing down, to just rest onto your mat, wherever it can comfortably touch. It doesn't need to be stretching out in front of you, just a comfortable rest of the right hand on your mat. Then the left arm will bend and you'll place your left fingertips against your forehead like we had it earlier for the rotation, so palm facing down, so that as you push into the right hand, you can start to twist your spine towards the left, look towards the left-hand side of your room, and your elbow, of course, will lift with you. Then exhale, round the spine again, looking towards your mat. Stay in this shape with your arms, and let's go for 2 more. So as you inhale to twist, also think about a slight lengthening of the upper spine as you twist, like you're reaching for the top corner of the room. And then exhale, rotate back in to look at the mat, and let's go one more time. Inhale, we twist. And exhale, we face forward towards the mat again. Then you'll switch the arms. So left hand, palm down anywhere it can comfortably place on the mat. Right fingertips to the forehead. As you inhale, we start to twist towards the right. Keep your right shoulder blade down away from your ear, so it's not creeping up into the ear. And then exhale to face the mat again. 2 more. Breathing in. We're going to rotate and lengthen. And then exhale to face down again. And one more time. Use your back muscles to help you. Then we face the floor again. Both hands can come back down towards the floor. Then we go palms face each other, arms back into their starting position as you inhale. And exhale, we're going to roll back up again through the spine, vertebra for vertebra against your imaginary wall. And we're going to repeat that one more time. So we're just going to flow through the movement. Now you know where we're going. Breathe in. And exhale, dive forward. So first, go as far forward as you can, bending the knees if you need to. Then place your right hand. Left fingertips to the forehead, and we're going to inhale to rotate towards the left, lengthening as we do that. Exhale to face your mat. 2 more. Engage your back muscles, push through your right arm, and exhale to face your mat. And one more time to the left. Inhale. And exhale. Then we'll switch the arms. Place the right fingertips against the forehead. Inhale to twist towards the right, pressing slightly through that left arm. And then rounding to face your mat again. 2 more. Inhale, breath to lengthen and twist. And one more time. Trying to lift yourself towards that top corner of the room. And then exhale to come back to face forward. Bring your arms back into your starting position. Palms facing in. Take a breath. And exhale, let's roll our way all the way back up through the spine. Stacking yourself till your head lifts, and then from there we're going to set up for back support, so you can bring your legs together in front of you, squeeze them together, and then step the hands roughly 3 steps back behind you. Hands about shoulder width apart, unless you need a little bit more space. If the shoulders are tight, you can take your hands a little wider. You can keep the fingers facing out to the sides of the room, or you can turn your fingertips to face towards your body, as I'm doing in the video there. Straighten out through the arms, straighten out through the back, and make sure that you are pushing maximum through your arms first. 100% capacity to your arms, so that all you then need to do is start to push down through your feet, and your hips will just hinge their way up. Then inhale to gently come back down. If this puts any pressure on your ankle and your knees that doesn't feel comfortable, you can bend your knees instead and have your feet flat on the mat if you need to, especially if you've had any kind of ankle injury. And then we're going to press back up. So exhale, everything just stays straight. It's literally just the added pressure of the feet that hinges you back up. And down we go for 4 more. Keep the push through the arms so that you're just tapping your hips on the mat and then going straight back up again. And 2 more. So I'm not putting weight in the hips, I'm tapping and then pressing up. And 1 more time, tap. And slowly press up, find your back support position, take a little picture of it in your mind, and then hinge all the way back down to put weight into your hips this time. And we're going to get ready for hip circles. So I'm going to show you the modification first, which you're welcome to try with me, and then if you decide that you'd like to join the slightly harder version, you can do the harder version afterwards. So we're going to go down onto our elbows, like you're hanging out at the beach. Then bend your knees to slide your feet in towards you. From there, I'm going to use my abdominals to lift the legs up into a tabletop, squeezing them together. We spine twist towards the right, so peel your left hip off your mat. Then open up the angle of your hip to drop the legs, draw your circle around your tailbone to pick up your right hip, and then bring the legs to the center. Then we'll alternate directions. So now you're going to go to the left first on your inhale. Then you drop down, draw your circle, a little feeling of momentum as the legs swing around and up. Now you can stay there if you want to, or you can join me in the slightly harder version where you come up onto your arms, onto your hands, with your fingers facing back behind you. This one, the further back you take your hands, the easier it'll be. So if you need to go further back, go further back. Whichever version you're doing, do 3 more each direction. Inhale for the spine twist and exhale for the circle. Alternate directions so that you've done equal amounts on both sides. Remember to breathe. I'm going to take another little sip of water while you guys do that. And around. Should have about 1 more each way to go. Try not to do this too fast. There is a little element of momentum, but control the momentum. And when you feel that you have done your last one and you're ready to come out of it, we're going into our butterfly stretch, soles of the feet together. You can hold onto the feet, knees out to the sides of the room to lean forward over your legs. And we'll stay here for a breath or 2. And then ready to unravel, I'm going to sit up and I'm going to get ready to go into a side teaser. Now it helps for a side teaser to have your hand on something that can slide. So you'll see I'm placing a towel there and I've got like a hard floor. So that if you do have a hard surface floor, I would suggest getting a towel or a cloth or just something that will slide easily on your hard floor. If you're on a carpet, unfortunately there's not much that you can do and get a little bit of carpet burn on your hand. It just means you won't be able to come up as high if you can't get your hand to slide. So if you want to grab a towel, go ahead, and then we'll meet in a side lying position. So both legs out straight, hips neatly stacked. I'm not using the towel for the first exercise, I've just placed it there ready for action. And then we're going to externally rotate the legs slightly, so heels towards each other, before you float your top leg up just a little bit higher than hip height. Top hand lightly resting on the mat in front of your chest to help you with balance. If you need a little bit extra help with balance, you can soften the bottom knee. Otherwise, try to keep both legs actively as straight as possible. Bring the top leg slightly forward so that when it goes down, you are aiming your heel to tap the mat just in front of your bottom leg. Then we lift to our starting height, take it slightly backwards so that you're aiming for the mat just behind your bottom leg. So it's like you're drawing a little triangle with your foot going forward, lift, and back. Trying to keep everything else still, upper body, arm nice and still. And because you've rotated for the knee to shine upwards, it should be the heel that's touching the mat, not the toe. Don't try to twist your foot to get your toe to touch the floor, which I know is quite tempting sometimes. Even if it means that you don't actually get all the way to the mat, it's fine. We tap and we lift, hinging from that hip. And when the leg is going backwards, make sure you're engaging your abdominals and keeping everything in neutral, not letting your hip roll around. And we're going to go for 3 more each direction. Keep your breath flowing as you tap. So you can exhale every time you touch the floor as a nice little guide to keep your breath moving. And 1 more each direction, forward and back. Then after your last one, we're going to bring the top leg down firstly and then bend your bottom leg all the way out in front of you to 90. So my knee is in line with my hip and my knee is at a 90-degree angle. Top leg will stay straight though, so your top leg is not touching your bottom leg anymore at all. Keep the hips still, draw in through the abdominals, and then again we're going to float the top leg back up. Once your leg is lifted, make your ankle feel very floppy and relaxed. Your foot's just kind of hanging and your knee can soften as well slightly so that all the work is in your glute as you hinge from your hip to bring that leg forward so that you can see your toe, lower it to gently touch the floor, lift back up, and then swing it back in line with your body. So we're going to go forward, tap the floor, lift, and take it back. And just 4 more. Forward, exhale, tap the mat, inhale back. So keeping that heaviness to the foot and softness in the knee so that everything is happening in the hip. And we've got one more, hinging forward for a little tap, lift. Take the leg back in line with your body. Let's keep it lifted. It's nearly done. I know it's burning. We're going to flex now through the ankle and straighten out the knee as much as possible. So now I'm actively straightening my leg, reaching the heel away from my head towards the other side of the room before we do little pulses going up for 6 and 5 and 4 and 3, 2, and the last one. And then you can lower the leg all the way down to the floor. At last it gets a chance to rest. We're going to bend the top leg so that it's on top of your bottom leg. So you've got both legs on an imaginary chair in front of you, and bring both of the arms out in front of you as well. So with the hands touching, I know it's not comfortable for the neck, but you won't be here for long. If you do need a little towel under your head to make it more comfortable, you can, because that top arm is going to open up towards the ceiling. You're going to roll your chest open to face the ceiling and take your top arm all the way back to the floor behind you, as if you're taking your arms into that T position that we would normally have for a spine twist, without letting the legs move too much though. If the knee has moved slightly, it's okay. Find a comfortable position for your head while you're looking at the ceiling, and take 2 deep breaths here. Really opening up through your chest, stretching that pec. Then we'll lift the arm back up to the ceiling, roll back over to lie on your side, clapping the palms together, and go one more time. Arm goes up, open up the chest, roll yourself so that you're looking at the ceiling with your arms down. If the hand doesn't make it all the way to the floor, it's okay. It can kind of hang out there for 2 deep breaths. Then arm back up and around, hands clapping together, and now, as promised, side teaser. So 2 straight legs out. I've got my palm facing down on my bottom hand. It's, like I say, useful to have it on something that can slide if you've got something handy. And then I'm going to place top hand just lightly on top of my thigh. Then, like a normal side lift, float your legs just up off the floor. Keep your legs together. They should feel like they're the same length. And then rock your top hip slightly backwards so that you roll slightly off to the side of your bottom hip, so slightly onto the bum cheek. Not all the way until you feel the pelvis, but you just roll slightly off to the side, which gives you the room then to start to lift your head. And as you come up, we're going to lift the legs and the chest towards the ceiling like you're trying to reach your hand for your feet. You might just stop here, that's fine. If you've got something to slide though, try and use the arm to slide yourself up a little bit higher. And then reverse. So we'll slide back down, keep your arms straight regardless of whether it's sliding or not. Come back to your starting position, rolling your hips to face forward. So the hip will roll back on the inhale breath. And then exhale to lift through that upper waist, reaching for your feet, but still just to the side of your pelvis. I haven't rolled all the way onto the back of my hips. And then we come back down. It's a side teaser after all, not a regular teaser. Let's do 2 more. Hip rolls back. And exhale, crunching through that upper waist, sliding the hand towards you, and then reversing. Like I say, you don't have to come up this high. If you don't have something to glide on, you won't be able to get up as high. Let's do 1 more. Roll the hip back. Exhale as you lift. And then inhale to reverse everything back down towards your mat. And then we're going to flip around to lie on our back. So we're going to be going into some rollovers from here. If rollovers are not something that you're comfortable doing, especially by yourself, then you're welcome to just do some pelvic curls instead. Just keep yourself moving while we do our rollovers. So we're going to set up, neutral spine, arms lengthened down beside the body. Stabilize there before floating 1 leg at a time into your tabletop, squeezing the legs together. From there, we reach the legs out away from you in that long diagonal, so that you can then lift them over the hips on the inhale and exhale to roll all the way up and over. Make sure that you're looking at your legs here. If you're unsure of what you're doing, just watch the video first and then do the exercise, because you don't want to move your head while you're doing this. Once you're in your rollover position, Flex through your ankle joints, separate your legs to about hip width apart and hinge from the hip socket to try and lower the legs a little bit lower. Once you've gone as low as you can go, keep the knees straight, breathe in and roll down through your spine. The head stays down, you can use your arms a little bit. Definitely use your abdominals. Once your pelvis has landed, point your toes, sweep your legs away and together, back in your long diagonal. Lift on the inhale, exhale, up and over. Flexing those heels, separating the legs and going as low as you can go. If you are touching the floor, try to stay touching the floor with your toes for as long as possible as you roll down to stretch out the hamstrings. If you're not touching the floor, just focus on keeping the legs straight as possible. You're going to go for about 3 more. You can go in your own time. Whenever you feel that you are done, just finish by hugging your knees into your chest in a little rest position on your mat. Or if you're not doing the rollovers, just keep going with those pelvic curls for another 2 or 3 pelvic curls. Remember to breathe and go as slowly as possible on the descent. And you probably have about 1 more to go. I'm going to give you another 10 seconds to finish your rollovers. Then we'll curl the head up off the mat and roll all the way up to sit. So that we can take our legs to the other side of the mat. If you had a towel or something to slide, grab that to be ready for your side teaser on the other side. But we're going to start by lying down, both legs out straight, top hand just resting on the mat in front of your chest. Draw in through your tummy muscles, find your neutral spine, and then float your top leg up a little higher than hip height. Externally rotating it so that it's the heel that's going to be aiming for the floor just in front of your bottom leg for a little tap. Lift, and then taking it behind the bottom leg, tap, and lift. Try not to strain the neck. Your neck is relaxed, just moving in that hip. And if you're struggling a little bit when the leg goes back, try to tuck your tailbone in a little bit more so that you've got the support from your tummy muscles to prevent you from rolling backwards. And it's just a little light tap. It's not a rest. I'm not giving my leg a rest on the floor. Let's do 4 more each direction. Remember to keep your breath flowing. And 3 more each direction. And we go for 2 more each direction, tapping in front. Make sure that every time you lift your leg, you're lifting it to the same place. It's not getting lazier. It's going up to a little imaginary spot in the ceiling. After your last one, we will bend that bottom knee into its imaginary chair, so with the knee in front of the hip. Keep the top leg lifted a little bit higher than hip height. Let the foot become floppy and relaxed and soften the knee joint slightly, like a tiny bend in your knee, before we hinge the leg forward. Lower it to tap the floor, lift, and then take it back in line with your body. Forward, and a little tap and lift, and back in line with your body. And we go for 4 more. Exhale as the leg goes forward. Inhale as you take it back. If you had a wall behind you, your back and your pelvis would be staying in neutral against that wall. Last 2. Tap and lift. And the last one. Forward, tap and lift. This time we're bringing the leg in line with your body. And we're going to flex the ankle and actively straighten through the knee. So now it's a very active leg. And we're going to pulse up slowly for 6 and 5 and 4. And I know it's burning. And another 2. And your last 1. And then you can lower the leg all the way down to the floor, bending your top knee to place it on top of your bottom leg to get ready for our little stretch. We'll bring the arms out in front. If you want to have a little bit of support under your head, a cushion or a towel, you're welcome to do that. As we open the arm up to the ceiling, chest and eye line looking at the ceiling, your top arm reaching for the floor behind you. Hold it for 2 breaths. Try to keep the knees together if you can. So it's just a nice twisty stretch, breathing into the rib cage, stretching your chest. And then we'll lift the arm up, roll back over to lie on your side, clapping the hands together. And let's do 1 more. Arm going up, rolling yourself open to the ceiling. Find a comfortable position for your head and hold it for 2 breaths. Then we will bring that arm back forward, roll onto your side and set up for your side teaser. 2 straight legs, hand resting on your slidey, if you've got a slidey, palm facing down. We're going to float the legs just up off the floor and then turning that or rolling that top hip slightly backwards, so you roll just off to the side of your bum cheek before we start to lift into the teaser. The legs, the body start to lift. You might just reach this point. If you've got a slider, slide to come up a little bit higher. Then we slowly unravel, so you go down, you slide back through the arm and you face forward. Inhale as the hip goes back. Exhale as we lift through that upper waist. Keep the bottom arm strong and straight. Try to keep your legs the same length the whole time so that you're actually twisting more through your waist and not letting your legs just slide past each other. And we do 2 more. And we lift. And slowly come down, moving through the air. One more time. We'll roll the hip back. Exhale as you lift, reaching for your toes. And then reversing to come all the way back down. From there, after that last one, we're going to roll around to lie on our tummies. So I'm lying on my stomach with arms out in a proper goalpost position this time. So your elbows need to be in line with your shoulders. Your elbows are bent to 90. So your forearms are parallel to one another. And unless you're really tiny, your forearms will probably be over the edges of the mat on the floor. Legs are going to be together, squeezing together, heels rolling towards each other, nose just floating off your mat. Lift and support from your tummy muscles so that your back is supported. And then it's just a tiny little movement. You'll stay exactly as you are. We're just going to rotate from the shoulders to keep your elbows on the floor, but try to lift your forearm up off the floor. So your hand and your forearm will lift slightly, but your elbows stay down. And then they come back down. I don't have a lot of range in this movement, so it might be that you can go a lot higher than me. That is possible. And back down, or maybe you're also as trapped as I am down on the floor there. We're just going to go for 4 more. So inhale, rotate, exhale, down, and 3 more. The forearms are staying parallel to one another. Be careful of the hands wanting to creep in closer and closer to your mat. And your last 2. And 1 more time, keeping the elbows down. And then from there, we'll keep the legs as they are. Bring your arms into a more narrow goalpost position now so that we can set up for your breaststroke. So from there, make sure you've got space around you for breaststroke first. If there are any obstructions, move them out the way. From there, I'm going to glide my arms out in front so that my arms are about in line with my shoulders. Let the fingers and the hands start to feel light on the floor as you circle the arms all the way back as though they're reaching for your feet. Keep your arms straight, palms facing down, and lift through the head, chest, and arms. From there, we'll bend the elbows, take the hands out to the sides, and return everything back to your starting position. So inhale, arms go forward and around, lifting the chest as the arms stretch back behind you. Exhale to bend and come back to your starting position. Inhale, and we dive and around. Lifting the chest, and then bend the elbows, sweep the hands back in. Inhale, 3 more, dive and around. Keep the arms straight to begin with, and then bend. And last 2. Sweep the arms around, get the lift. And bend. Last one, sweep the arms around, get the lift and bend and come all the way down towards your mat. We're going to push up onto hands and knees from there, round into your cat stretch, and then just rock your hips back towards your feet as though you were going to go into a rest position, but then you change your mind and come forward over your hands again. And go for 2 more little rocks. And forward, just stretching out your back. And 1 more time. And forward. Then we're going to get set up for some planks. If you want some support under your wrist, you could have a towel or something just underneath the heel of the hand to make your wrists feel a little bit more supported. You can also try to do it on fists instead, but there's a little bit of swiveling, so you might struggle with that. We're going to tuck the toes in behind us. Find a neutral spine with just a slight tuck in of the tailbone to support your lower back. Push strongly through your arms before we glide one leg back. Make that leg strong and straight. Keep the position of your body and glide the other leg back to join so that you're in a full plank position. Now your feet need to be about hip width apart or maybe even slightly wider so that they don't knock into each other. As we start to lean into the right hand, so your left arm becomes light, you're going to roll over onto the outer or the blades of the feet, sides of the feet, lift your left arm to the ceiling and come into your side plank. So your shoulder, your right shoulder should still be above your right wrist. Keep your toes tucked in, keep your legs nice and straight so that you can just roll back into a normal plank. So roll back over onto the toes, place the hands. Once you're in your plank position, looking towards the mat, we're going to do one push-up. Keep the shoulder blades broad. Elbows will bend to lower you down as low as you feel confident in your push-up. Then press back up. All the weight goes into the left hand, and you guessed it, we're going to side plank on the left. Right hand becomes light. Roll onto the sides of the feet to come into your plank, right arm to the ceiling. Keep the legs straight, toes tucked, and roll back around again. If you're wearing socks, it can get a little tricky with the feet. You might have to adjust as you come back to your plank and do your push-up. Bending the elbows, down, press up, and onto the right hand, we're going to swivel into a side plank. Rotate back into a normal plank. Place the hands. Get the legs in the right setup. Strong legs, strong abs, and a push-up. And up onto the left hand. We roll onto side plank on the left. Come back to the plank position. We're doing one more each way. Push up. Onto the right hand. Roll into side plank on the right arm. Try to stay with me. Obviously, if you need to take a break in between, take a break. One more push-up. Then all the weight into the left hand, last plank on the left hand side. Roll back around to face the floor. Do your push-up to finish, and then you can bend your knees, gently lower those knees down onto the floor and go straight back into your rest position to stretch out your back. Arms reaching out in front of you. And then we have finished, run out of time. Well done. Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed the session.